Welcome back to the Wave Motorsports Edition. I'm your host Dylan Polyakov, joined by
Dan Capoletti.
And Mr. K.
Alright guys, since our last episode here, this is episode number 2 for our Motorsports podcast, specifically talking about Formula 1 today again. And what a race we just witnessed this past weekend.
Yeah, it was a very great race. I think it had a lot of good action. My boy Max wasn't at the front, but I still think I had fun watching
That
it.
made the race even better in my opinion.
I think it was a race of strategy. I really enjoyed this race. I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. Some unexpected battles, definitely, but it was definitely a fun race to sit down and enjoy.
Definitely up there in one of the best races of the year, I'd say, just in terms of strategy. I think races are always better with the safety car, which is why Canada and like the changing condition, that's my favorite race of the year so far. But besides that, I thought it was a clean race. Everyone knew their points, and it made for an interesting race, especially with the first lap, which we'll get into. Well, Dan, I'm just gonna say right here, when you think Monza GP, what are you thinking? First one, 2024.
Mr. Coacher said it already, but strategy. I think that was a brilliant race to watch strategy-wise. Maybe not as much wheel to wheel, but it was great watching, seeing what the teams were going to do out there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm a little bit salty, obviously, after watching the race as a McLaren fan. How did you just blow that and you got out strategized? But it could also be that, I mean, Ferrari brought 12 upgrades or whatever they brought. They just threw spaghetti at a wall to see what would work for Monza because that's like the main race. They build their cars for their home races, and that's really what they want to win. I mean, the social media was amazing from that race, but I honestly think that the Ferrari that weekend was the only car that probably could have done that one stop to perfection.
I disagree with that, actually. I don't think Ferrari was the strongest car, and I think that's evident.
Oh yeah,
But
no, yeah.
and the only reason why McLaren had to do the two stop was because of the first lap incident. If they weren't chasing down each other, they would have been easily been able to do a one stop. They 100% would have been able to do one stop. They would have been so far in the lead, it wouldn't have been an issue. That's exactly what happened to Ferrari with Leclerc and Sainz, right? They built a lead through the one stop, right? But they did it through the battling of both McLarens. And we could get into that at a further point, but I
Yeah.
it comes down to strategy and what happened in turn 1
I'm
or turn
saying
3.
McLaren definitely has the fastest car, but you'll never know about like tire degradation with the cars. Maybe that Ferrari was good. I mean, you heard multiple times on the radio Piastri saying, "I don't think my front left is dead." Lando said, "My front left is dead. Am I doing something wrong? Is there something wrong with the car?"
That's every single racer has that same issue at that track. That track is heavy on the left front tire. That is where the degradation lays. If you listen to Sainz and Leclerc, they were saying the exact same thing at the end of the race. Their tires were dead,
They were shot. Yeah.
right? It comes down to not using your tires and knowing how to tire manage, which the McLarens have been known to do. They can manage tires very well, but they have to manage those tires. They can't battle.
And have a good strategy. Yeah, I mean they were fighting each other's. I don't really see how they didn't think that was gonna like pay off instantly. Their whole papaya rules thing that they said that you can fight, it basically means just don't crash into each other. I think because it's a joke. Clearly they had good strategy off of like their first start. And they Lando immediately pulled ahead, and it looked good. It looked like he was finally going to lead a race into lap 1, and then you get to that corner, and then he gets dive bombed by Piastri. I didn't had no idea what was happening, and Lando's race got jeopardized. He started third.
Well, I think with the whole thing with team rules, I don't think that McLaren should prevent Piastri from racing Lando. If Lando thinks he has what it takes to be champion, he can't rely on team orders to stay in front of his teammate. He has to have the pace to stay in front of his teammate himself, in my opinion.
See, I disagree with that. We're at a point in the season, right? We're past the summer break, right? It is more than halfway in the
Lando's
season.
like 60 points ahead of Piastri, and he's the only driver that has an actual shot of catching Verstappen. And it's not going to make a difference in Piastri's confidence if you say at the end of the race, swap to 2-3, Lando could really benefit from getting the 5 extra points in this race because it's 5 extra points closer to Verstappen. It's not saying that you're the number one driver going to favor you. You should understand that one, like that quote that you said back in Hungary, you're going to need Oscar, you're going to need the team. You can't win this championship on your own. McLaren should be there for Lando. They have to be. You can't swap them. They can't win. Like we'll get into it later. Piastri's actively taking points away from Norris as Red Bull continues to have these terrible weekends.
Does Lando really deserve a championship win if he can't even stay in front of his teammate?
He can. He's outqualified him 13 times to 1 in the entire season. He's a clear better driver on lap to lap pace, and even with strategy, he got overtaken on lap 1, yes. But why are they fighting each other? They should be maintaining the 1-2. And instead they said, "Yeah, Oscar, you can go dive bomb him on the first lap and not made it was just a dumb move by the team to even let them happen. You should have waited till at least the second stint or till there was a race in control because even McLaren, they had the pace. They were building a gap on Ferrari, and they would have done that if they didn't fight each other. Fighting each other is going to jeopardize McLaren's chance at winning both championships.
Zach Brown has to make a choice, and it needs to happen before this weekend. Who the number one driver is. If it's going to be Piastri, it has to be
That's
Piastri.
stupid.
If it's going to be Norris, it has to be Norris. It sucks to say that there's a number one driver and a secondary driver, but you have the Constructors' Championship at stake and you have a Drivers' Championship at stake.
And by having
Potentially.
those two drivers, if you're not deciding which one's your favorite, you can still win the constructors. But by saying that, oh yeah, you guys can fight each other. If Oscar, you keep taking points from Lando. It's how you lose the drivers' championship.
See, they're going to fight each other till what happened in Bahrain a few years ago with Verstappen and Ricardo is going to happen. And then that's going to ruin their whole chances for the championship on both championships for the constructors and drivers. It is ridiculous what he's allowing to happen. I hate to say that you shouldn't pick favorites, but you have to pick a favorite at this point.
You should go for the guy that has a chance to win the championship.
Yeah.
And I understand not doing it in Hungary because Piastri's first win and all, but a second and third place isn't going to make the difference. It's not going to be life or death for Piastri. It's not going to be make a difference to the team. It's only going to help Lando. And Piastri's, I'd say he's out of the title fight by far for the drivers' championship. If it makes sense to push Lando,
I think it's mathematically
impossible for Piastri to win.
impossible for Piastri to win unless Max
DNFs
DNFs
every race.
every single race.
And that's Piastri, but Lando has an actual chance to win.
Yeah.
At this point, he does. So I really don't understand like what you said, Dane. I completely disagree with you. I think they need to choose a favorite. They shouldn't be letting them fight because Lando still is ahead. He's pacing higher, he's qualifying higher, his average finishing position's higher. In the races where Piastri's fighting Lando for the lead and he gets a quick overtake and it jeopardizes Lando's race, that's not the you need the team. I completely disagree with you.
But he was burning his tires the whole first stint.
Oscar completely.
Yeah. That's why lap after lap after lap, you saw him getting fastest lap.
And then they pitted Lando early to box to overtake to undercut Leclerc. I mean, I think McLaren's strategy was crappy that race. I don't see why they didn't just go off for a long stint and try the one stop.
Because the
in general.
tires were gone. The tires were gone because
Not
both
by
of them,
Lando.
Lando's tires were gone too because he was pushing to try to catch Piastri and catch up to Leclerc.
It was
And didn't.
unnecessary.
It was. That whole thing that happened was unnecessary, and then it led to more unnecessary strategy. So it's just beyond me that they're allowing this to happen. At the end of the day, they're going to ruin the championship hopes for both of them, not only in the constructors but also in the driver champion. Because at the end of the day, year after year, you're not going to have the same car. There is no guarantee that next year they will be this fast or this competitive. You are ruining your chance.
Look what happened to Red Bull this year.
Yeah.
Last year, the most dominant season in F1 history, and this year they're now operating at, like the fourth fastest car in the most recent races.
Yeah.
To mention it, about pretty much the opposite of McLaren's tires. Leclerc had a tire degradation masterclass during this race.
I thought his tires were going to pop off at some point.
He did 34 laps on hards, and he never left the minute 23 lap times. He was so consistent that he
It
was
was his
within
race
the
to win.
same second for every single lap. And I think that is what drove him to that win. It was a great strategy by Ferrari, but it would not have worked out as well if they didn't have Leclerc out there doing that.
I thought they were going for two stop also, which is why they pitted Leclerc. I think the one stop was just say, let's risk it all. And if we get it, we get it. And if not, we don't.
I think for the first time in recent years, we can say Ferrari did not pull off a Ferrari strategy.
No, I'd say McLaren did.
Yeah.
It's getting a little annoying to me as a McLaren fan. It's ruining Lando's season.
I think in last episode, it was Ferrari's race to win.
I think we
I
did
said.
mention that it's Monza, it's their weekend, it's supposed to be theirs, and I think they had a great weekend. They performed really well, and at the same time, I think McLaren made a bunch of mistakes. It was McLaren's weekend to take. They had the fastest car going into it, including with the lap times, the 1-2, and this is making me think, based off of that, the third for Lando, that's not going to win. Is the drivers' championship back off? Because at this point, I just don't see a scenario where Lando's going to win every other race due to either strategy or fighting his teammate.
I think that there's a possibility in it. I wouldn't count on it. If anything, it's going to come down to the last race, if anything.
Yeah, I definitely think it's too early, because even though this may have hindered him a small bit, if Max continues to have these poor finishes with Red Bull in 6th or 7th place,
I'd love that.
there's only a 62-point difference in 8 races. So there definitely still is a possibility. I think it really entirely depends on if Red Bull can get back in the game or not. Because if they continue to drop or stay where they are, I think that Lando will overtake Max.
Red Bull's fall off in the past couple races is like worse than like FSU football fall off. They're terrible this year.
That one
Red
was
Bull's been
tough.
terrible in the last couple years. In the last couple races, I think it's crazy. And I'm opening up to the discussion. I think Ferrari's going to overtake Red Bull by the end of the year in terms of constructors. They're only like 40 points behind. I think it's totally possible that that happens.
Uh, I think it was a one-off for Ferrari, but I wouldn't put it
One off.
past.
And at Zandvoort, they got a third and a fifth. That's still great. They're still putting out. They won the weekend as a constructors. They had the most points.
Fair enough. What I will say is, it is possible. I hope for the sake of Red Bull that doesn't happen because that just shows where they've have come at this point. Um, but I think that comes down to the question of Verstappen is performing to the best of his ability with a horrible car. Is
Never
Perez
thought you'd be saying that.
is Perez going to start performing?
Perez finished one spot behind him. They were close. They were
2
7 and
spots.
8. No, they were 7 and 8. Perez was 7. They were 7 and 8 this past weekend. I promise you that. Perez, they time wise, they were very far off, but Perez still finished 7 and 8. When they said that they wanted Perez to be finishing just behind
It was
Verstappen, is that what they
Russell.
were saying?
Russell had P7
Max finished 6th.
Finished 6th. Did you overtake Russell? Russell had
Yeah.
damage the entire weekend. That's my bad. But still, Perez is finishing in the points. It's not
for
his
the
fault.
first time
In a while,
in a
yeah.
while. But like,
It's improvement.
Look, 4 points is not a whole lot.
No, they did terrible.
No, they in combination they had 10 points overall.
Ferrari's gonna take them. I full heartedly believe that. We go into a circuit that's really tight in all skill next week, which would be more Verstappen type of thing. But I'm telling you, this is a Ferrari second place to take. They had it last year. I think they can do it again.
I would say that Ferrari taking it isn't off the table, but I guess it's again entirely reliant on what Red Bull can do. If Max is able to get back on the podium, I think I think they'll definitely keep second. I don't think Ferrari will take it if Max can get back.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be really interesting. We'll see what happens in the next race. But getting back into it, our homeboy Logan Sargent,
Oh no.
one weekend without him, and Franco Colapinto, 12th place, just like that. Almost tied Sargent's highest position, which would be 12th. I mean, he finished the race 12th. Sargent's got 1 point. He finished 10th, but that was due to 2 disqualifications. So they both our highest finish is 12th in Formula One. Does this justify the removal that quickly?
It definitely hurts to say it, but yes. Colapinto had the unfortunate mistake in qualifying, so he started P18, and he was able to get back up to P12. So that without that mistake in qualifying, I think he would have been in the points in his first ever race when Logan Sargent only managed it once. Like even I have obvious bias towards Logan Sargent because he's a hometown hero, but
At the same time, it's Monza. It's a really like easy track for beginners. It's not the most difficult. It's not many turns. There's like 11 or 12 turns the entire race. I think we'll be able to say if it was justified this week with this track that we have coming up. But I don't think that it was that justified. It hurts to say it, like you said. I'm not ready to do it yet. I still don't think like he doesn't have a seat. He's just relaxing a race. I don't see why they would have to get rid of Sargent when Colapinto doesn't have any chance of having a seat next year. Maybe with Kick, but that's not for Williams. Williams is not Williams' problem.
For me, right? I'm happy that he got a chance to drive. I think there's a long history behind Argentinian drivers in Formula One. If you go back and look, they've been dominant in the sport when they have come along. Do I feel bad for Sargent? Yes, I really do. Do I think that it was right for them to remove him from the seat? No, but after costing them a couple $1 million in the last crash that he had, I understand the frustration. So I think what they're looking for is stability. Somebody not to cost them millions of dollars. I feel bad. I
Yeah.
really do. Like, especially since he's the only American on the.
He'll be in IndyCar next year. And I
It
mean,
just hurts.
yeah. And speaking of stability, something I wanted to highlight, what happened to Mercedes? They won 2 straight races before the summer break, and they have been nowhere to see. They haven't been close to the podium in the last couple races. What is happening?
So I've heard rumors, and I don't know if you guys have heard the same rumors, that Toto and the rest of the staff, besides very close people to Lewis Hamilton, have been sabotaging Hamilton.
Were you the one that sent the emails out a couple races ago?
No, I was not. But that's exactly what I'm talking about.
That wouldn't make sense though, because Russell's also performing terribly too.
but not as bad as Hamilton. But Russell is very inconsistent in my eyes.
Yeah, Russell's gonna be very patchy, especially. I mean, his record looks worse because of the disqualification. But I really wanted to highlight. I think they're falling back to the fourth best car now. I think Red Bull has a better car than they do. Mercedes, I think at one point were operating as the second or third best car, and I think they fell back to fourth,
I think Mercedes is just struggling right now. I think they weren't prepared for the regulation changes when they did happen, and they kind of got left behind in the dust.
and they're waiting for 26.
I think that's exactly what's happening. I think they know that this isn't their time, and that they acknowledge that they're okay sitting happy in fourth in the constructors. Or
Maybe for now, but come 26, they just hired a driver that crashed in 10 minutes in, a lap and a half in, with Kimi Antonelli, who you said last week was Andretti's kid.
yeah,
Don't
my bad.
really.
I thought we edited that out.
No, we left it in, Coacher. Anyways, he just signed a contract. I think they're gonna have a great duo with Russell and Kimmy for next year. I think Kimmy's gonna have to develop. It's like a Verstappen situation. You're gonna have to give him a couple of years, and I think he'll be one of the best drivers on the track. Come 26, I think they'll be ready to compete and go back for that constructors. But I can totally see them taking a step back and starting to save up the money and just go all in on 26.
I think they're already started to develop the 2026 car. If they haven't, then that's a concern, right? I'm sure that most of those constructors and most of the teams have started developing, especially the bigger ones. And that's probably where they're bringing all their resources and putting it into, because at the end of the day, right, for especially after last season, a lot of people thought, oh, it's going to be Red Bull. Look, they're almost 30, 40 seconds ahead of the second best team. Why should we focus our time in today's season versus tomorrow's season?
I definitely think they're probably done with these regulations. They've had minimal success,
Pretty
and I
bad.
think yeah, they're probably focusing all their resources and trying to win championships again after 2026.
Saving up. I do like that opportunity. And speaking of another team that could be good in 26 now with a bunch of rumors, but as of right now, Aston Martin's not been looking good. Another terrible weekend for them.
Well, the rumors say that leading up to Azerbaijan, they are going to announce Newey. Nothing is confirmed, but the rumors say it's pretty much confirmed. I think if they are able to sign him, I think he is such a great mind that I think they'll be able to compete again.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity if they can sign Adrian Newey as like their lead mechanic. They're gonna give him so much money just to come there. I think he can really develop the car even for next year, just to give him some pointers to get them back in because they always seem to start out with a pretty decent car. Alonso's qualifying good, and then they just fall off so hard. They didn't finish in the points for another week. It's just becoming embarrassing. They're ruining Fernando Alonso's prime, his rookie season for Fernando Alonso. He's just being wasted right now. He just signed that extension, which is now looking like a great move with Newey. But what is going to happen to this Aston team?
Yeah, I think that the number will be crazy when it comes out. I think that Daddy Stroll's gonna cash out the big bucks, anything to get his son a win.
He just wants Stroll to get carried to a victory. Both the Strolls just want to win a constructors championship, and they don't really care. That's why they paid for Nando Alonso as much money as he wanted and everything like that. They're gonna go all in. They're gonna stick around. They're gonna spend as much money as they can, and they're gonna really want it. I think 26 will be a great year for them, and possibly even next year too.
I agree. I think that if they do sign Newey, that it could really be huge for them. I don't know if Stroll can handle the car though. If Newey comes in and develops it, if I'm being quite honest, I
Stroll,
really don't. And I know you're laughing at me for saying that, but there's a huge difference between what was the Red Bull car from last season and the Aston from this season. There's a huge difference.
yeah,
Huge,
different car.
huge difference.
But
I
you don't
don't
think Newey's gonna design it to cater to more Fernando or Stroll, or
know.
just say fastest car as possible?
Fastest car as possible, best handling, best engine. You think Newey designed that car behind
Verstappen?
Verstappen? No.
No.
No, he designed that car to be fast and be the best car. And then it was Red Bull that had to get the best drivers in that car.
I still don't think you can go wrong with having the fastest car.
No, I'm not saying, but if you put it in the wall every 2 minutes, then what's the point?
Yeah, and you're gonna get penalty points driving like terribly and stuff like that. And speaking of,
But
yeah,
like, hold up, really quickly before we move on to that next thing that you're about to bring up. Stroll and Alonso are very not well known for driving clean.
yeah,
So you're gonna put some of the most dangerous, I shouldn't say dangerous, some of the most risky drivers in one of the fastest cars
We're gonna get some fun races.
Sure, a lot of safety cars. That's what we probably get.
Like 2016 Max.
Yeah, and
Probably.
speaking of safety cars, we even had a safety car in 7 races.
Oh wow.
Have the races been worse? I love a race with a safety car. Like I mentioned earlier, Canada's been my favorite race of the year. I think you need that safety car to shake it up. But right now, the safety car driver is driving part time.
I think there are definitely trade-offs. When you get that safety car late in the race, it's so exciting. The pack is all
Abu
close.
Dhabi 21.
You get some close finishes, but you're also there has to be a driver that crashes. The racecraft is worse. There has to be a driver that made a mistake and crashed. They risked their life. They cost money. And when you have those big
But it's so
crashes,
much fun to watch.
like Sargent crashing has definitely hurt the development of the Williams car because they had to spend so much money. So even though it brings close races, it makes the Williams worse.
I understand how for viewership it could be fun because it takes a long. I shouldn't say long.
Nah, it makes the race fun for me.
It makes the race come
Interesting.
back,
Yeah.
right? It makes it a sprint race. That's why we started having sprint races, right? Because we wanted something a little bit shorter, a little bit more exciting.
Easier to digest and exciting.
And
Yes.
people don't want to really sit down for an hour and a half race, if I'm being quite honest, right? It's a 2 hour race.
I don't mind it.
You don't mind it, but you're saying that you want a safety car.
Oh, you need something to shake it up. Like Monaco, even though there was just a red flag, but I can't sit around it. I fell asleep during Monaco. It was the slowest race. There was like 4 overtakes.
For me, I enjoy a race without a safety car. If it happens, I hope that everybody's okay. I would rather see like an engine failure and then pulling off where they need to just extract the car for a safety car. But I don't want to see somebody get
Or
hurt
I
or
like
crash.
even a race with like extra stuff to it, like an added element, like the Great
Rain.
Britain Grand Prix, like Silverstone, great race, and it just had rain and it came in and came out and made pitting super interesting. There was no safety car. I just think you need that thing to spice up the race to say, oh, this could happen, and just unpredictability to it.
For me, right, I feel like a lot of races are very cut and dry what the strategy is. For me, I like strategy. I like equalizing factors such as rain and coldness and other things, wind. Um, so for me, those are the things that make it exciting. A safety car it just makes it a sprint race, especially if it happens in the last 20 laps. Everybody's gonna put on mediums.
Then you get a fun end though.
Yes, to a certain extent, but safety cars leads to more safety cars, more safety cars. So in a sense, yes, but like I don't want to see safety car after safety car after safety car because then what ends up happening is you do 10, 15 laps under a safety
And then
car
people keep hitting each other, and then they get penalty points and everything
penalty
like that.
points, and then the race finishes, and it only ends up being a lap or two of actual racing. It it sucks, but like the penalty points, it affects the drivers for the next race.
To talk about penalty points, Magnussen just got a
His
race
12th
ban.
point,
Got the 12 points.
given Ollie Behrman presumably his first start with Haas, and it's a sneak peek of what we're going to be seeing with him next year. Really interesting. I didn't think they were ever going to give him the 12. They had been so cautious, giving him one here, one there, one here, one there. He's finally banned for a race. He gets to go to Cancun for a week, go relax on the beach, and Behrman gets the start. Magnussen doesn't have a seat next year, and I think this is a great opportunity for Haas to see what they got in this new driver.
I think it's needed. I think
Nice little shakeup.
Nice little shakeup, but also I think he needed a break for a little bit. He needed to recollect their heads, but also in the idea of Formula One, where there's only 20 drivers typically on a grid. How many drivers are we up to now that have raced in this season?
Would be
23.
23 now.
23.
Yeah.
That's a good amount of drivers.
It's fun. No, it's definitely fun.
It's fun. It makes it exciting.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and Haas definitely had a crazy weekend. I believe at the minimum they were involved in 3 incidents.
They were involved
With
in
Hulkenberg
everything.
as well.
They're always involved. Any incident on track,
They got to sell that team to Andretti as soon as possible.
Whenever you see an incident on track, there's always 2 assumptions that you
It's
can
a Haas.
assume.
It's either a Haas or Logan Sargent.
I was gonna say Haas or an Alpine, but sure.
Or it's Ocon to be specific with the Alpine.
Yeah,
But and he's in a Haas next year. We get the best of both worlds.
yeah.
Anyways, talking a lot about next year. Let's get into our Monza predictions from last week. And I think total between me and Dane and Coacher was a little lazy and didn't write his down, so we don't remember it.
Sorry.
I gained 5 points. I said biggest surprise was Alex Albon. He finished in the points. I gave myself that one. Biggest flop Fernando Alonso. No points again. I gave myself that. Qualifying podium. Lando Norris got first, and that's who I had, so that's another point for me, and everything else I got wrong. And then the race podium, I put Lando in third as well, so I think I knew. And then my bold prediction was that Ferrari would outperform Mercedes, and that I gave myself right too. So I gained 5 points on the weekend, giving me a nice early lead against Dane. Dane, how'd you do?
So I had about the opposite of a weekend. I only gained 1 point for this weekend. The only point I gave to myself was the biggest flop being Perez. He underperformed. I think I deserved that 1 point. I had nothing else.
We're being nice. We're being very
It was the
nice.
only thing I had. Nothing else. So I get that 1 point.
What'd you have? You had biggest surprise Alpine points three-peat.
They disappointed me. They finished 14th and 15th. I thought
Perez finished 8th. That's what he's expected. I don't think that's a flop.
To be honest, I was expecting him to finish outside of the point, so
I can't
that's
get the
better
one
than
All
point.
me.
right, fine. We'll give him that biggest flop for Perez. He didn't even finish outside of the points. We'll give you that. Will be nice.
Anyways,
I'll take
okay,
the
give him the
5-1
point.
lead.
Give him the point.
And so I'm up 5-1. All saying coach is at 0. All of his points got
No,
taken away.
I think I get 5 points because I did choose Leclerc to finish first.
Yeah, and where do you have that? Do you have that written
Check the
down?
tape. Check the tape.
Check the tape. We don't have the tape on us
check
today.
the tape.
Let's give you 1 as well. We'll give you a consolation prize.
I think I get 5 for if we will go back and
We'll
check
go
the
back.
tape.
We'll add it for next week.
And if I said Leclerc for P1 for the race,
Well, that's only 1 point.
That's only point.
no, +5. Who would have guessed that Leclerc would have
No, stop. It was
Okay.
it was a Ferrari weekend.
Look,
we all spoken about
It's
it. We knew.
Ferrari. It's a Ferrari strategy, dude.
Oh, come
Nobody
on.
expect Ferrari to do that
You
well.
can't. You don't give yourself 5 points. You got a prediction right. Boohoo! You were super bold. You get 1
Ah,
point.
Okay.
As of right now, I'm
5
up
points
5
in my
1.
head.
I'm up 5 1.
Anyways, okay.
Let's look at this weekend. We got Baku, Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Dane, track analysis. Go.
All right. Baku, street circuit, but extremely fast. It is a low downforce. The cars are going to be fast. And to give like some context to how fast this track is, the F1 speed record is held here at Baku. It was broken in 2016 by Bottas, who went 234 miles per hour. Fastest track on the grid by top speed.
Yeah, that's because there's that last sector is basically a full
It's
straight
a full
away.
straight. Just a
I
slight
mean,
turn.
it's not, but like it's a full.
That'll get
straight.
overtaken. I think Vegas will probably have that record soon, in my opinion. I think Vegas is going to be quick. That's a
think-
longer straight.
We'll see. Yeah.
We'll see. It'll be interesting. What cars do you think are going to be strong though?
So Baku is very similar to Monza with the high speed setups are preferred. So I think it will be pretty much the same teams in that top thing, unless Red Bull can make a comeback. I think if they're able to get it together, they could finish on that podium, but I think it will be mostly McLaren and Ferrari dominating there.
That's super interesting. I would hope that McLaren finally dominates and puts a weekend together and finally says, Lando, let's try and win you the championship. It's Behrman's, like we just spoke about earlier, Behrman's first start in the Haas. I hope he has a good weekend. I think he could surprise a lot of people, and I'm not spoiling my predictions or anything because I didn't pick Behrman, but I think he could do well if he puts on a solid performance and either finishes in the points a P10 or a P13 or 12. I think that's a really solid weekend for
I think
Behrman.
it'll be too. I think it will be very interesting because correct me if I'm wrong. F2 does not race in Baku,
I have no idea. I don't follow F2.
so we'll have to check this.
It's
but
definitely his first race here.
it could be both.
Yeah.
2 drivers
They do.
on the grid. They do race
Yeah,
in
they
Baku,
do.
so never mind. Scratch that
yeah,
idea.
but
Cut it from the tape.
he gets a free start. I think he's gonna surprise a lot of people, Dane.
You want to give your predictions now, Dylan?
Yes. Let's get into the predictions. So we start with biggest good surprise, and this might shock you guys. I've gone Lewis Hamilton.
Interesting. Okay.
I think it's been a while since Mercedes has had any sort of good thing. This track is tight corners, quick corners. You saw Leclerc crashing there a couple years ago, saying he's stupid on the radio. I think Lewis has a very clean weekend. I think Lewis gets a podium. I think that's my biggest good surprise. He gets a top 5 finish. I feel like that's a little low. I'm gonna say podium for Lewis Hamilton. He has a quiet, good weekend, minimal mistakes, nice solid weekend for Lewis. Dane, what do you think?
My biggest surprise, of course, I'm a Max fan. I'm going to have bias. I have him getting back on the podium.
That's not. You can't say that. He's
That's-
not gone 2 races. He's gone 1 race without a podium. You don't get biggest good surprise. You have to say he wins.
That's a surprise for me. If he gets back on that podium, this is a very similar track to Monza, and he got 6th. So if he gets back on this podium, I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Do we give him that, coacher? I feel like that's like cheating.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
A podium for Max Verstappen, the reigning leader in the drivers' championship, and we're saying that that's a biggest surprise. That's a good surprise if Verstappen finishes on the
It's good
podium.
for him.
That's so not fair. So if I say Lando winning's the biggest good surprise, you would say that? It's a surprise for me.
Sure, why not?
That's not fair. Okay, I'll let it slide. If it passes, I'm not letting it happen next week. But
Okay.
you're low on points, so I have to give it to you. Coacher,
Okay.
who'd you go with?
Franco.
Ooh, what do you think? Points?
I think podium.
Calapinto?
Dude, the Williams is a rocket ship in a straight line.
What are
Year
you
after
on?
year, year after year, the Williams is a rocket ship in a straight line. I think that there's a possibility that he could get a podium.
There's no chance he gets a podium.
I think. Look, I
Hot
would.
take of the freezing cold take of the week.
I think it's a hot take.
It's just it's not gonna it's gonna get frozen. It's not. I can't believe that. Can't believe Calapinto
Look,
and podium
look.
entered your mouth and left your mouth in the same sentence. That is
Look,
insane.
I think best hope is that he gets a podium, but like realistically, I think he'll be in points.
Okay, I see the 9-10 finish. That's not too far fetched.
I honestly
So he's
do
going to
think-
be all of Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes. He's going to be and Aston Martin for that matter. He's going to get all past those
I
and,
think I
past
said
Albon too.
I said a podium, not first place, a podium.
That's outrageous.
I mean,
You're losing. That's okay. I'm not complaining. That's a free point.
look. I think you don't know. It's a game
if
of
he
racing.
if he gets a podium, I will personally run a marathon right for you on video.
Honestly, do you know what I think will happen?
What?
One of the leaders at the very end or at the very front of the race is going to be pushing way too hard,
He's gonna crash into everyone.
go
It's
into
gonna
the
be
wall,
Perez.
go into the wall, and he's going to be so far behind that he's able to stop.
So he's not even gonna
and there's a
qualify
red
well.
flag.
Coacher, what are you
I think
thinking?
like 15th.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Crash, right? Takes out the first 10, and then he only has like 10 people to go through.
Yeah, and he's gonna go through all these experienced drivers in his second race.
The first 10 is going to be like, sorry to tell you this, but I whatever. Skip past. Franco is going to be on the podium.
Outrageous.
He's going to be on the podium.
Wild take of the day.
Franco's
going to
be on the podium.
Let's get into that second category. Dane, who have you gone with your biggest flop of the week?
What? 2 times in a row, I have Perez for my biggest flop.
I think her biggest
If he
flop.
gets
You
po-
know it.
I think he'll be even worse.
if he gets points, that we're eliminating it.
Okay,
If
I
he-
think Perez will drop out of the points. That is
okay,
my flop.
I will give you that if he flops.
Okay.
Because that's not fair. You can't say it's a prize to you.
To be honest, like I get that, but like I think you're gonna be shocked about mine. I think Albon.
Oh my God, we're back to this.
no,
Albon's gonna get P2 in his
No, no,
logic.
no,
That's his biggest
we
flop.
said biggest flop.
Okay,
no,
who's your biggest flop?
Albon is gonna DNF.
Albon DNF, Calapinto third place. I don't know what you're on this weekend. I love these predictions. This is great. I get a free point. My biggest flop is gonna be Charles Leclerc.
Ooh. See, I have him on the opposite. I think he's gonna get pole position.
I
for
think
qualifying.
I think he finishes outside of the top 5, and
Oh.
that's my prediction for biggest flop
Okay.
because he's coming off a podium in a first place. I think he gets
So
low.
how do you think he's gonna do in qualifying? Because I think he's gonna get pole position.
I think he has a. Thank you for spoiling your pick.
Sorry.
We'll get into that in a second. Thank you. I'll let you talk about that. But I think he does bad. I think it's a bad weekend for Charles Leclerc. I think it's a bad weekend overall for Ferrari. They threw spaghetti at a wall that it somehow worked in Monza. I don't think that works again. I don't think their strategy is going to be there. You're going to need everyone's going to be caught up and realize. I think bad weekend for Ferrari overall.
Okay. Interesting.
And getting into pole position, you have Charles Leclerc getting pole.
I do. I think that car
Is this
is fast.
2022? I forgot what year we were in.
I honestly think that car is fast, and I think there's too much heat between Norris and Piastri that they're.
Oh yeah, they're going to be competing against each other in qualifying.
Let me. Oh my god! Let me finish my statement. I think that they're gonna push the car way too hard and lose the back end, and they'll be lucky if they don't go into.
Because they're competing with each other under that logic.
Yeah, like under the logic, we know that the McLaren is the fastest car. We know
Clearly.
that that's the car. Granted, they don't have the best handling. I think that's well.
Yeah, I
been
mean Lando loses the
showed.
rear a lot during during that race.
So
yeah.
I think that there's a possibility that they both will be pushing it very, very hard during qualifying, and they just keep on losing the back end, especially during the middle sector where you have the tight turns.
Interesting. Dane,
So, kind of the opposite of Mr. K said. I have Lando on pole position.
third
It's
straight.
a repeat of what's been happening the past couple races. I think there's definitely merit to your statement. I wasn't even thinking of it like that for qualifying.
Bold prediction: Lando leads lap 1 in first place. That's that. I'd let that pass today if that true bold prediction. But yeah, I agree with you. I have Lando on pole as well. I think he goes 3 straight. There's no car quicker than that McLaren right now. Lando, with all of his experience, I think he gets it quite easily. I think it's another big lead, and he gets pole.
Okay.
Now let's talk about race top 3. And let's start with third place. Who does everyone have in third place?
I got Piastri.
Piastri in third.
I have Franco.
Oh my god. Didn't even spread it out. Didn't even say that's my bold prediction. He actually put it in his prediction.
No,
Accurate.
I honestly do think that he can potentially get third place.
Okay, whatever you say, Coater. That is outrageous for me. I put Lewis Hamilton. I'm tying it in. I think Lewis has a nice solid weekend. Gets on the podium.
I think Franco's and Lewis Hamilton's chances are the exact same. I will put $2,000 down on Franco winning. No, actually,
winning.
No, on getting third place. I don't have that money because I'm a teacher. But
Third place, $2,000.
yeah, it's
It's
probably
an insane parlay.
That's basically throwing it in roulette. You just have no chance of winning.
It's probably like plus 10,000 right now.
Oh my god! But I want to see you place that bet. You really think Calapinto's gonna finish on the podium? Not even that. You put him in 2 predictions. That is outrageous.
Okay.
Oh my god! Who do you have in second? Albon?
Who do I have?
Yes.
No, I have Piastri.
Piastri in second. I have Oscar in second as well. Dane.
Okay.
Oh, I have Leclerc second. I don't think he'll be able to repeat the win, but I definitely think he'll be up there on that podium.
Okay.
Interesting. That's be 3 straight podiums for Leclerc. That'd be a great job. I've gone Oscar. I think he's clearly in the McLaren. It's the fastest car. And I think that it's going to be a nice, solid weekend for Piastri. I don't think he'll qualify second. I think he'll qualify like third or fourth, and then he'll overtake and end up in second. And he's not going to want to overtake that first place because I think McLaren will finally come to their senses, which is my race winner is Lando Norris. I think he leads into lap 1. That's not my bold prediction because that's probably not going to happen because it's Lando. But I think he wins this race with ease.
I said Norris to
I
win
said
too.
Norris as well.
We all have a Norris weekend in Baku. Really interesting that we all said that. That makes me very nervous. If this feels like a Norris weekend, that's not very good because the last time it felt like a Norris weekend was Great Britain for me.
For reference, on the Hard Rock Bet app, just to go back at what I
Mhm.
was saying, for Franco to be in a top 3 at Azerbaijan, it is plus 25.
Go place the bet, bro. Go do it. Coacher, go place that bet. You seem so like you're so confident in that
I'm just
pick.
saying that payout right at that odds
Mhm.
is $500,000 for $2,000 bet.
Go do it.
No,
I want to see you waste $2,000 to the Hard Rock betting app.
I don't have that money for school. If you are a child or not of the
Do
legal
not
age
gamble.
of
Do not
do
gamble.
not gamble. It is a horrible way. And if you are addicted to gambling, please
we
reach
were
out
kidding.
to help.
We were kidding. Coacher's not that stupid. He's not gonna spend $2,000
No.
on a bet that there's 0 chance that it passes.
Granted, I do not have the money to do that.
That's his bold
anyways.
prediction of the week. I will put $2,000 on the Hard Rock app.
Okay.
Biggest prediction of the week for me. I said that. Guess what? I said Ferrari and Red Bull will not be on the podium.
Interesting.
I think it's a Merc and McLaren podium.
Okay.
I have kind of the less extreme version of Mr. K's prediction. I have Franco points. I think he'll be able to.
I said, but that's my bold prediction too. I'm just putting out the
Oh my god!
Look, I'm just putting out that good energy to have Franco to have the first Argentine.
Can we give him negative points? This is outrageous.
Look, he's the first Argentine driver in I think over 20 years.
So what your bold prediction is? Gets points or podium?
Both.
Okay, fine. I'll give you that.
Both. But like, in all honesty, he's the first Argentinian racer in over 20 years.
23.
Yep.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Right. The last driver that was an Argentinian racer, I believe.
I don't think he finished on the
his
podium.
No, his second to last season, he won the drivers' championship.
Calapito's 1 race in. He
Look-
raced in Monza.
look,
and
you don't
he
know.
finished P12.
That's in a Williams, dude. In a Williams in P12 in Sargent's car that could only go 20th or 19th, dude. I think there's
Classic.
a chance. I think there's a chance.
Whatever you say, Coacher.
I think there's a chance. We'll see.
Dane, and Dane, your bold prediction is points as well.
Yes, I have just points, not a podium. I don't think that will happen.
We got about 2 weeks till this race happens. At time of recording, a lot of things could change, but as right now, that's gonna be all the time we have for here today. It's gonna be a great weekend, guys. I totally think it's gonna be an exciting race. I think we see a safety car too. I'd be very interested in that.
What is it you and wanting
I
drivers
l
to risk their
It's not
lives
risk their lives.
crashing?
It's not. I just want like someone's engine to blow. They have to bring out a safety car. They stop on the side of the road.
I
I need something interesting so I can have fun and watch it.
I think it'll be a hot race. So
Oh, it's gonna be super hot.
we'll
Yeah.
see how it goes.
We got a nice 2 week break. We got football this weekend, so I'm gonna be drowned in that in my fantasy football team. But and then me and Dane did F1 fantasy at the beginning of the season, and my team's Oscar Piastri, Nico Hulkenberg, and Max Verstappen. I'm like 11-2, and he's like, what are you like 1 and
I'm
8?
4-8. My
4 and
team
8.
is absolutely awful.
I have not been keeping up to date with my F1 fantasy.
I just figured out that was the thing this season. We did it. It's super fun.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're getting sidetracked here. That's gonna be all the time we have for today. Thank you for tuning into the Wave Motorsports edition, episode 2. It was a great time, guys. I'm your host Dylan Polyakov, joined by.
Dan Capoletti.
And Mr. K.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.